All right, thank you, Lisa. Well, welcome everyone to this exciting introduction to our webinar series, The Future of Dental AI. As Lisa said, I'm Michelle Holguin, your moderator for tonight, and we're setting the stage for an engaging conversation about how AI is reshaping dentistry. Each of our guest speakers brings a unique expertise and perspective to this topic. And in today's panel, we'll explore how their innovations are transforming dental practices. As Lisa mentioned, over the next few weeks, you'll have a chance to dive deeper with each of these industry leaders. But today, we'll give it a snapshot of what's to come. So let's get started. Mike, Adrian, and Amol, could each of you please share a brief intro and how your organization is leveraging AI in dentistry? Let's start with you, Mike.
Yes, Mike Buckner, and I'm an executive vice president over at Pearl. And what we are centered around is providing a second opinion, especially around X-rays, 2D imaging right now. So how this works is, as soon as a practice takes an X-ray, our system will be able to pull those X-rays, run them through our AI servers, and in real time go in and highlight all of the detections, everything that the AI is finding. So any anomalies, caries, calculus, periapical radiolucency. So it's able to really surface things that often go missed, but also putting this into context for the patient to see what the clinician is seeing. And so we're able to give quantitative measurements around areas of decay that we can then compare with the last time that the patient was in, while also giving a full comprehensive report of all of the undiagnosed opportunity in a practice.
Wonderful, thank you. Adrian?
Yeah, so my company, I'm the CEO of a company called My Social Practice. We're a digital marketing company. We only work in the dental industry. And so most of my experience with AI has been in trying to develop and create content for marketing campaigns more efficiently, right? So I've been like neck deep in tools that do image creation, video creation, obviously things like ChatGPT for copywriting. We're getting into pretty deep into using the kind of the natural language processing of these large language models to for human communication, human AI communication, like with web chat and phone systems. So really, it's my realm with AI is more on the front end, kind of lead gen, new patient acquisition area. So that's where I've been playing with AI and trying to figure out how to find tools that would help us speed up processes, content creation, and marketing campaigns. So,
Amol?
Well, hi, my name is Amol Nirgudkar. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Patient Prism. 8 years ago, we wanted to solve a problem using Alexa. Alexa as the agent that would allow us to understand dental conversations better. And as dentistry was moving towards this direct-to-consumer model where we were spending money on marketing and SEO and SEM to drive leads into our practices, patients to call us, what we were finding out was that only half the patients were actually scheduling an appointment. And we wanted to know why. We wanted to use AI as a tool to actually listen to conversations and provide feedback to dental practices on who's calling, why are they calling, what do they want, what's their value, are they booking or not booking, or if they're not booking, why not? And so 8 years ago, it used to take us 3 hours to process this information and provide it to our dental practices or our DSO clients. Today, it takes us near real time, about 20 to 30 seconds. So the idea was to be able to optimize patient flow by really understanding what prevents a patient from moving forward in their journey to make that appointment. Because again, without the appointment, we don't have patient. Without the patient, we don't have a dental practice. So Patient Prism really delves deeper into conversations that people are having, whether they're on the forums, they're on the calls, and quickly in real time notifies someone that, hey, we just missed the boat. We just dropped the ball. We could have done this. And it provides recommendations in real time on what could be done to attract that patient back into the fold, thereby increasing patient flow and really improving the top line and the bottom line.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for that quick intro. And I think that segues us on into the next question here. And what are some of the most exciting AI innovations that you just introduced? And how are they driving measurable improvements in both the patient care and operational management?
AI is pretty exciting because what it does is it allows us to do things quickly and accurately. So it's harder for humans to compete in certain aspects of okay, how does a human listen to 10,000 conversations in real time? There's no way, right? And how do they assess what happened? Why did it happen? So the biggest thing that we've learned in the AI world is understanding context of conversations, not simply picking things from the conversation that were indicative of what the patient wanted, but understanding context. And that's important because, yes, we want to know, John called the dental office and they did not schedule an appointment, but I want to know a deeper insight, right? Why did John call and did not schedule an appointment? Was it because the marketing didn't send the right lead? We couldn't have scheduled John anyway, because let's assume they were a Medicaid patient and we don't take Medicaid. And that was something that disqualified them to be a patient. So no matter what somebody at the front office would have done, we wouldn't have done that. So that's interesting. So because we understand the type of the lead at the very top to understand whether the right lead did call you or not. The second aspect of it, okay, well, we didn't book an appointment. Now, sometimes it's easy to say that the reason John didn't book an appointment was because the receptionist was not the best, did not provide the right information. And that's the easy thing to say. That's what I thought when I started the business, is it's all about Judy or Melanie or Paul who didn't answer the phone correctly. But then what we found out through AI was that if you dig deeper and if you understand contextual if you have a contextual understanding of conversation, there could be reasons like, oh, you had no capacity. That's why you didn't bring John, because patient wanted to come in the next day or two, and you told them 4 weeks out. You couldn't really talk about pricing. You didn't take their insurance. So the most interesting part about what we do today is these, what I call micrometrics. And these are the things that are below the surface to understand, like, okay, well, we're not growing as a practice, but why are we not growing? We need to understand really the why. And AI, so it's simple, but it's profound at the same time, because it allows us to measure things that we didn't measure before in real time. Well, it was a marketing lead, it was a sales issue, there was an operation thing, you don't have capacity. And all of that information is sent to the practice or the call center in real time, so they can now do what I call interventions to fix what just got broken, especially it had to do with things like operational. So that's what I think AI is. It's becoming smarter and in understanding context like a human does. And it's giving us deeper insights into why our practice is not growing. And it baffles me today. Like, how did you know? How did you know? Without having a human listen to it. And that's the big takeaway for me.
Well, let's unbaffle a little bit, Mike. I'm going to throw this one at you because Amol mentioned analyzing over 10,000 calls and getting into micrometrics, and Pearl kind of gets into the minutia of it. So same question to you, the innovations that you've introduced, and how are they driving measurable improvements in patient care?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that comes up in conversation quite often, especially when we're talking with some of our clients and dentists. Of why do I need AI to look at X-rays? Is I've been doing this for years, right? I have my routine. I've gotten really good at looking at X-rays, but there's something to be said about the fact that when there's a human element involved, humans are error prone. There are times that things either are missed or we don't have as much time as we'd like to look at and examine those x-rays. And, what's best said from one of our clients that I spoke with last week, he says, what I find is the first half of the day, I'm sharp, I'm on it. And when I'm looking at x-rays and I'm pretty sure that I don't miss anything. He says, but after lunch and after I have had the morning rush and I'm in that afternoon, he says, there are so many times where having a second opinion or having an aided assist with the AI coming in and highlighting everything on those x-rays has helped me so much. And so there's a few stats that I want to share that just really highlights that problem. Whether or not you are a clinician that feels like, maybe you miss things, maybe you don't. Some of the stats that came from the CDC highlight some of this massive problem, and the fact that 43% of caries go undiagnosed in x-rays. Even worse, 20% that are diagnosed are not actually caries. And then periapical radiolucencies. This one's a coin toss. So about 49% of those go undiagnosed in x-rays. So be that, how rushed we are in our practices, having the AI come in and able to break down and see, pixel by pixel, highlighting the patterns of what is seen as caries, as calculus, as even bone level measurements, periapical radiolucency. This is able to see so much more than the human eye can see, which in comparison, depending on where you look or the stats you look online, we break it down to kind of say, the human eye could really only see a variation of these different shades and tones of gray, probably between about 30 and 50, right? Probably the older we get, probably a lot less. I know my eyes are going bad. But with computers are something, and AI coming into this, it's not presenting the information based upon emotion. I mean, this is something that is all the time, is performing all the time, breaking down pixel by pixel, equivalent to 500 to 700 different shades and tones of gray. So it's able to pick up on the slightest little changes to catch things earlier. And also for the patient, even if you don't miss anything on those x-rays, allowing the patient to see and understand those x-rays. I know for myself, when I would go into the dentist and he would say, we're going to watch this area. I never really understood that. I'm kind of thinking, what are you watching? Like, it's either there or it's not. I didn't understand at the time, okay, if it's not encroached into the dentin, or if it's, maybe there's something that can be done to kind of arrest that decay. I didn't understand it at the time. But now that AI is able to really provide the, and pun intended, but the color around this, be able to see those x-rays in a different way, we find that it helps build that patient trust. And the patients now, I mean, this is why AI is so huge in healthcare, is because there are so many times, be that cancer detections, pathologies, mammograms, things go missed. They just do. And so that's why now more than ever, there is a massive kind of a rush to implement this into healthcare to help eliminate that component of what sometimes ends up being, the human error, missing things. Now, AI, in my opinion, will never replace the clinicians. It's simply offering that second opinion to ensure that, we're looking at the areas that need to be looked at and leaving it up to the clinician to rule out or to decide how best to move forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. You mentioned patterns, and Adrian, I'm going to kick it over to you because as a marketer, you learn to identify patterns. So again, same question to you in the introductions that you gave here. What's driving, or what do you see that's driving measurable improvements in terms of marketing and patient engagement?
So there's so much. I'm trying to think of all the different things I've looked at and the different tools that we use in our marketing campaigns to kind of speed things up. Like, what's one thing that's super cool? I would say that conversational AI is kind of mind-blowing. So this is the ability of having a human-like conversation with an artificial agent who's been trained on a set of information. It is so good already, and it's just going to get better, that if you haven't had a conversation with an artificial agent at this point that's trained well, it'll blow your mind when you do. So an example of how this is making an impactful becoming impactful in the dental industry. I'll give you one example. We put web chat on a whole bunch of our clients' websites, okay? And after about 2 or 3 months, well, within 2 or 3 months, almost all of them called us back and said, please take this off of our website. We're getting too many chats, okay? So we have a problem here, right? The problem is like 2/3 of consumers prefer web chat, especially Gen Z and millennials who don't even like to use their phone to make phone calls. They want to chat and text. So you put a web chat on a website and all of a sudden the practice is inundated with web chats. Well, the practices haven't made the transition yet or haven't figured out a way to build in the bandwidth to handle web chat, right? So they just say, forget it. If they're not going to call the office, then we don't want to work with them. That's the way most practices are handling it. About 80 to 82% of practices don't even have web chat on their websites. And the ones that do have web chat, it's not really web chat. It's like a form or it's like a bot that, just doesn't function properly. We haven't had a technology until recently with like the latest models, these large language models that could handle human conversations. And now you can. There are tools out there, and I'll even show some of these tools in my presentation, that you can put a web chat on your website and it'll handle a conversation just like you would, maybe better than you can, because you don't have you have bad days, you're tired, you got 5 things going on at one time. And these agents can be connected to patient management systems. They can schedule appointments. They are freakishly good. And so I am like super, super excited about the ability of conversational AI to handle some of the bandwidth issues and be able to solve some of the communication requirements that people want that practices just simply can't handle. I mean, same thing goes for like after hours phone calls, right? You can send them to your voicemail. Don't, because like 80% of people don't even leave voicemails anymore. It's like they don't call back. You can send it to I don't know if Amol, if your company does it, but you could send it to a live agent, an outsourced company. You can also send it to AI. Oh, you don't. I wasn't sure if you did that or not, Amol. My apologies. So there's the ability of this conversational AI to really kind of handle some of these issues that practices just can't deal with right now because they just haven't had the technology
or the bandwidth or personnel.
Yeah.
I want to keep it with you, Adrian, and come at a perspective from a patient, right? If I'm a browser, you mentioned you have certain tools on a practice's website. And a lot of people, like you say, they kind of shy off, right? Because it seems a little impersonal when you have just a boring chat bot on your website. So how are you using AI in my social practice to personalize that marketing and engage with patients on a more individual level? And how is that significantly boosting patient interaction?
Okay. So the 3 panelists that you have here, myself and Amol and Mike, actually fit really, really well together in terms of approaching this from like a patient journey. Mm-hmm. So I've spent most of my time trying to help practices be found digitally, right? Website development, SEO, social media, reputation management, copywriting, graphic design, all of these things that you need to do in order to like get your message out, right? And that's like the front end of this, just trying to attract a patient to your practice. And so I like that you asked me this question first, because I can kind of start this patient journey. We can kind of go through and I think it'll fit really well with the 3 presenters here. Anyway, so in my presentation on Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday, 15th, Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about 5 different types of 5 tools. There's actually more than 5 tools, but 5 concepts and tools that are used in order to develop a marketing campaign. So I'll be talking about how to create imagery, and I'll be showing you tools that you can use to create imagery, and actually like good social media content, right? I'll be talking about how to create video from text using AI. I'll be talking about how to create music. There are some incredible music creation tools out there that use AI. You can, if you ever wanted to be a music producer, like you can do it now in your basement.
Bye. Found my new career.
I've got an employee who's been making a bunch of dental songs, and we've given her another title. She's a music producer and a copywriter. We'll be talking about copywriting, right? How to write copy using Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and some of these large language models. And then I'll be going deep into this natural language processing or conversational AI. So what I'm going to approach, where I'm coming from is the problem, you know, I own a marketing company, right? And so marketing companies are only in business because all of the work is a pain in the ass. Let's be honest. Like nobody wants to write anything. Nobody has any time to do it. Nobody wants to make an image. Nobody even wants to take a photo. Who has the time to take a photo? I know dental practices don't want to take photos because I've been begging them to do it 15 years and they just don't have the time to take a photo. So like the problem with it is in order to be found in digital marketing, you have to create content. Like you can't, there's no way around it. People use Google. Google's driven by content. You can't rank or be found unless you create content. So practices are stuck, right? They're like, I don't have time to create any content, but if I want to be found, I have to create content. So what AI is bringing to the table is an extremely efficient way to create content. You still have to do something, but rather than writing a blog article about, your new CBCTs or whatever that takes you 3 hours, you can write it in like 6.5 minutes, and it's awesome. So that's kind of what I'm excited about and what my presentation will be about. Is like, if you want to be found, if you want to attract new patients, this is how you can do it, leveraging these tools with AI. I hope that answered your question.
It does. So I'm going to kick it over to Amol. Again, leaving it on the patient journey. I saw all your cool videos, Adrian. I saw, read the blog that you did in 6.5 minutes. But Amol, how do we hold marketing accountable, and how does it actually make operational efficiency at a practice level, leveraging tools like Patient Prism, and again, enhancing that patient communication through that patient journey? So you got through the doors.
I was talking to a dentist yesterday, and he was talking about marketing in general. And he's like, who do you recommend? What should I do for marketing? And he's like, I have such a bad taste in my mouth about marketing because I don't know. There's not, it's interesting, right? Marketing has become, there's very few people like Adrian who've been in the business for that long, right? A lot of folks that have just come in and then try to write content. And now with ChatGPT, you think you can just do it yourself. There's a lot more to it than just producing content there. But what Patient Prism kind of stands right there is like, okay, well, marketing's main job is to drive leads, drive the right kind of leads. Right? One of the things that Patient Prism does right at the outset is understand the quality of the leads, both quantity and quality both, right? We understand, okay, here's so many new patients who are calling, here's what they want, right? So we can segment the leads by emergencies, by orthodontics, by implants, by restorative, by hygiene, right? So that's the first thing. Like, what kind of leads is marketing generating into the ecosystem? We have we tie and we measure those as conversions, right? We measure conversions when a patient books an appointment, which is unlike how Google measures conversions as any action that is predetermined. So what we're able to do is now we're able to take all those leads that have been converted and then report those back into the ad platform, saying that, hey, this was a qualified lead, and we're reporting that as a conversion. And that allows a lot of our clients to really understand, okay, well, what is really my cost per booked appointment? What is it, right? What is the denominator that I'm supposed to divide my marketing budget by? And so I understand, okay, here's what it costs me to drive an appointment for Invisalign. Here's what it costs me to drive an appointment for implants, full arch, whatever that number is. And that number needs to be in line with what the value of the patient is, right? It cannot be, that we have a concept called lifetime value of a patient versus the customer acquisition cost. And there is a funny ratio that you need to be in. So that's the first thing, right? The first thing is Patient Prism understands the quality of the lead, the quantity of the lead, and then reports those things back into the ad platforms. It also allows the ad platforms to optimize impressions better so that they're showing the ads to the right people, reduces the number of impressions, but actually places the ads in a more meaningful way, so eventually reduces your cost of acquisition. The second part of it is, okay, well, they called, did they schedule or not? And if they didn't schedule, what was the problem? Was it our agent who couldn't do a good job? And we provide instant recommendation. As soon as the patient hangs up the phone, instantly you're like, all right, patient wanted Invisalign. We told them that we don't have any appointment for the next 6 weeks. And also, by the way, we told them it's going to cost them $5,500, and we didn't offer them any financing. And so this is how we should go fix this. So what we do is we're giving them instant feedback, instant sales training and coaching to your front office or your call center agent, saying, this is what you should have done in order to get that back. So what we found out, because we serve mostly larger DSOs, we found that if we send that information back to the call center or the front office, and if they heeded that warning, that we call them early warning signals, hey, we just lost a patient, $5,500, one Invisalign. We could have offered them care credit. Go offer it, right? Yeah. So we're giving them these recommendations, and now they're calling the patient back. And what we're seeing, to our surprise, over the years, 25 to 30% of those patients are coming back on the second try, which is a lot of patients, right? 25 to 30% of patients, you multiply that by 100 offices, that's a lot of patients. That being said, and then so we look at it from, okay, so then we looked at the sales process. The other way the patient doesn't book an appointment, where the patient is just unable to schedule an appointment, Patient Prism looks at the conversation context. Okay, well, it was a training problem. We understand that the person didn't answer the phone correctly. We provide the coaching. But despite that, the patient still didn't book an appointment. So it looks at things like capacity. How many patients are calling with certain needs, but we're not able to book them in. We're booked out so far out, patient's not going to come in. How many patients are not booking us because we can't take their insurance. We're out of network, and we don't know how to talk about that. We also understand language barrier issue. We understand service not available. And all these things, when you see all these metrics in real time, you get a complete understanding on a daily basis, on an hour-by-hour basis. Here's the reason I'm not growing. Because the one thing that we all love to do is like to find easy answers to difficult questions. And we say, oh, well, my marketing must suck because I'm not growing the practice. And very little time, what we have seen across now 70 million phone calls, what we have seen, that's only true about 25, 30% of time. The other thing is your sales process. And a lot of it has to do with your operations. It's your capacity, your pricing, all that stuff. So that is where, when you elevate this data and you provide these early warning signals to organizations and you tell them, here's what you need to fix. Now it's no longer left to the gut. Now we're telling them exactly. Well, there's 10 patients who want an Invisalign who couldn't schedule because you didn't have any capacity. And guess what we should do? Well, we should open up more hours, maybe hire more people, maybe hire more hygienists, maybe get more patient flow going. That's the point of AI, in my view. It needs to give humans insight that they didn't have before. And they need to give them foresight too. Foresight is in a recommendation. Go do this. Because if you go do this, then good things will happen. And so that's really, I want everybody in this audience to really think about AI as a tool that allows humans to build better relationships with our patients. Whether it's computer vision with us, whether it's marketing, what AI is doing, it's facilitating better relationships. And if you can do that, then everybody's happy, patients are healthy, practices are thriving, and it's pixel dust everywhere.
Yeah, it's a happy camper there, a happy patient there. You bring
Hey,
up
Amol, I've stolen something that you said that I saw you speak at, I can't remember. It was a huge conference and you were on stage and you said, let AI or let robots do what robots can do and then let humans do what they do best. Give time to humans so that for what they can do best, which is to build relationships, right?
100%.
Anyway, I've said that about 50 times and I've claimed that I was the one that came up with it.
Okay. I don't know. After 50 times,
I just slaughtered
you don't
it.
have any copyright for that. Well, it was a good thing. I know. Maybe it inspired me to say that, but it's so true. And I'll let Mike talk.
relationships, building relationships. So Mike, how can a clinician continue to build on that relationship? I found you, I learned about you with Amol's going down the patient journey, then I'm in your practice. How is AI technology improving the diagnostics accuracy or overall patient outcomes with tools like Pearl?
Yeah. Amol, you said something that I really liked, which is you focus this around efficiency and around relationships. Because, if we ask any dental professional, be that office manager, hygienist, dentist, most of the time I would say, what do you love about your profession? It is helping people. It's building relationships, right? It's connecting with people. My wife's, she was a dental assistant. Every now and then she loves to go back in, pick up some shifts in the practice because she misses helping people, being around people. But there comes a point in the practice that the limitations that we have in a practice to grow a practice, which is different from any other business, is you're limited based upon the walls in your practice, how many chairs, how many operatories, how many patients you can fit in and out of your door. So that is why, and I get this question a lot, why are there so many technology companies and software companies in dental? Because these companies are focused on finding other ways to grow your business within dentistry, which is now it all comes down to efficiency. Within your walls of your practice, what are you going to do to allow your team to shift their focus and spend more time with the things that fuel them, with the things that light them up, and less time in the minutia of the things that just take up too much time or are stressful. This industry in dentistry, for the most part, there's a lot of our dentist friends out there that work in somewhat of a silo. They don't have any other clinicians in the practice. And so when they do get a difficult case, when they do get some x-rays, and again, if we're focused on same-day dentistry, allowing helping our patients when they come in the practice and trying to give them relief and offering that same-day dentistry, now you've got limitations. You get an x-ray and you're unsure about certain things, but there are no other dentists around available to get that second opinion. This is where the AI comes in. And more often than not, when it comes to case acceptance, we know that comes down to trust. It comes down to trust, building that relationship. And it's not just trust in you as a provider. It's trust in the whole process. It's when that patient walks in and they see that the practice is maybe still being managed on paper charts and they don't have everything in the system. What is that doing for trust, right? When they come into practice and they see that the technology is a little outdated, they're starting to think, wow, what kind of practice is this? There's a lot that comes down to case acceptance. So it's the whole experience. It is finding dentists that are utilizing and leveraging state-of-the-art technology. So when a patient comes in, to your question and coming back to it, when a patient then comes into practice and they saw online that here is a practice that backs all of their x-rays with artificial intelligence, with state-of-the-art FDA cleared AI in order to back all their x-rays and find things earlier, it gives that sense of trust. Patients then sitting in the chair gets their x-rays taken, and right away on the screen, rather than the clinician having to be in that difficult spot of, gosh, if I present everything that's going on this x-ray, that patient's going to think that I'm selling them dentistry. That's like a curse word in the industry. We don't want to sell dentistry, but instead to put the data up on the screen on that x-ray and to allow the patient to just sit there for a second and take it all in and look at, okay, what is this area of pink on the x-ray? And what does it mean when it says, 37% dentin and, 20% cementum? And why are these measurements on my tooth? Why are they orange over here, but they're white over here? It allows the patient to see that, okay, this is not necessarily just a subjective, x-ray. There's data on here. And now the patient can see it and understand. And they start self-diagnosing. They start getting to the point of saying, okay, well, I know that you talked to me about fixing the decay that I have here, but how do I fix this bone loss that I've got? I see that over here it's orange. So talk to me about this. It's getting them to a point of understanding it, building that trust within themselves, but then for the practice, to allow the practice to have that second set of eyes, and whether or not that practice it has associates, that are just starting in the practice. The last thing that anyone wants is for a patient to come in to get a treatment plan from one of the dentists in the practice, and then heaven forbid they go on vacation, they go out of town, they're gone for a few months, they finally come back and they're like, all right, I need to get this taken care of. And they sit down and they meet with a different dentist and they get a completely different treatment plan. Comes back to trust. Now they start questioning the whole system. And they're like, well, why are you saying that it's going to be this much when this other dentist told me it was going to be this much, right? So now we have that technology that is allowing clinicians, allowing the team to be on the same page, to shave down on the time that is taken to look at every individual x-ray, with the 2 to 3 minutes that typically is suggested, right? To really look at a full mouth series, taking the time to make sure nothing's missed. We now have AI that's able to speed that process up and help build that trust with the patient.
Yeah. It's awesome, Mike.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we want to leave some time for Q&A, but before we get to that, I'd love to hear from each of you to share one AI development that you believe will have the biggest impact on dentistry over the next 5 years. Drum roll, drum roll. Adrian, let's start with you.
You gotta pick on somebody. Go ahead, Amol.
I think it's got to be the biggest development's probably going to be in generating teeth. Is what probably will happen. AI will allow us to figure out a way. I think there's already a dentist. The other day I saw a robot placing doing a crown in somewhere in Europe. So there might be. It sounds scary. I don't know whether that's where we are going as an industry. But I think there might be developments where things, maybe hygiene, there's opportunities to do that using robots or assisted by robots, not really replace them. But I think we're not. I think we could be 5 years away from figuring out how to grow teeth, and that would be exciting. And that, at least that's my aspirational stuff. And again, nothing against the dental implant companies here. But I really do believe that what AI is doing, it's accelerating everything. I was talking to somebody yesterday it's a huge pharmaceutical company. And for years, they were working on developing a cure for myeloma. And all of a sudden, in the last 3 years, AI has allowed them to do so much of the simulation that they actually have FDA-approved cure for myeloma. And it made me like, oh my God, this is amazing. What if we could find cures for things that we haven't found? So I think it's hard. Somebody asked, Oprah asked Sam Altman like last week on what does he think? He's like, I have no idea. So if Sam Altman has no idea, I don't know any idea, but I would love to see things that, I would love to see better oral cancer detection and cure for that. I'd love to see better ways of, maybe fixing periodontal disease, and new developments in pharmaceuticals and stuff. That's what I see. I think I don't know have the crystal ball, but I'd like to see that at least.
Wonderful. Mike, Adrian, do you have enough time to look through your crystal ball?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because I know that we are just scratching the surface with AI. I feel like this is a field that is improving and that, and it's improving faster than I think I've ever seen any other technology improve. So we know that we're only scratching the surface and we're pulling in mountains of data. There are so many cool technologies out there. There are the smart toothbrushes that monitor exactly when and where you're brushing, how often you're brushing. There's the salivary testing. There's so many different data points that when we marry all of that together and have AI help in predicting, the models, we can then get pretty accurate to kind of say, all right, we know that if XYZ is not done, or if the patient is not starting these things based upon their the acidity in their mouth, based upon their habits, based upon, what we're seeing now and the trends of how the teeth have moved or shifted, we know that this will be the outcome, right? So I think it's going to get more and more accurate as far as the patient outcome if procedures are done or are not done. But as far as efficiency in the practice, what I'm really excited about is I know that AI will be able to help a practice run more efficiently, to be able to look at the schedule months in advance, and not just look at the schedule months in advance and see the patients coming in and what they have as unscheduled treatment, but also to be able to look at the undiagnosed treatment, be able to see, okay, of these patients coming in, what is their insurance showing? What are they eligible for? So they can get very accurate predictions of what procedures will be done in the next month, 2 months down the road, and what supplies need to be ordered today or tomorrow in order to accurately order and cut down on waste in the practice. So I think that, AI is going to help with predictions, health predictions for the patients, but also in the practice to increase the efficiency for how a practice runs.
I'm going to piggyback on that, Mike. So there's been a ton of money invested in AI. I think OpenAI just raised another $6 billion or something like that last week. I can't remember what it was, but there's been something like $200 billion that have been dumped into the industry. And the goal here, where people are running towards, is they're trying to create AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is an agent that is so effective that it can run a company, right? I mean, that's where this is going. I mean, I don't want to get scary and freaky and like Terminator-ish and that kind of stuff, but that's where the industry is headed. They're trying to figure out AGI. And so along the lines of what Mike has just mentioned, where an artificial agent could analyze the schedule, look at the patients, look at all the data, look at just basically everything. You would come into the office on Monday and you wouldn't get your team around and decide what you're going to do that day. The schedule will be put together and the AI would basically say, this is what needs to be handled today, right? To be most efficient. That's like the long-term goal, is that you have an artificial agent that is analyzing all of the aspects and basically running companies. Okay. That's my big prediction. My small prediction, and that's not my prediction, that's where things are going. My small prediction is this scenario. You call Verizon because you have a problem with your phone or your bill, and you get stuck in the damn tree. You get stuck in the phone tree. And all you want to do is ask that simple question, like, can you just take a look at my bill? I thought I already paid it, whatever it might be, but you're stuck. You have to choose option 1 or option 2 or option 3. And so you just keep pushing 0 or pound to try and get to a live agent because you're going to go mad, right? That's going to be gone in 2 years. It's going to be gone, right? You're going to call Verizon or name your crappy phone tree company, right? And you're going to talk to somebody and they are going to answer your question, solve your problem. You're not going to have any wait time and you're going to be off in 45 seconds and it's not going to be a human being. That's what I predict. So same thing's going to happen in the dental industry. Patient calls at 9 o'clock. They don't get voicemail. They get an AI agent, right? The AI agent updates their, reschedules them, reminds them of the membership plan, reminds them that they have some insurance benefits that they need to use. That you walk in the morning, everything's handled. That's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. The technology is already that good. It's just a little bit more work to get these things functioning properly, and that's where we're at.
I love that you use.
I would add to the fact that there is a lot of skepticism. There is a lot of fear around this, and people are like, you know what, I'm just going to avoid AI altogether because I just, I'm unsure about it. But one thing that is sure is that the dentists and the practices that implement and integrate AI into their daily practices, they will pass the dentists that don't.
They're
Absolutely.
more profitable. They'll just be flat out more profitable. Period.
And on that note, McKinsey did a survey, or they wrote a book on digital transformation in the age of AI. And they said, anybody who was an early adopter, so anybody, if you guys are on the fence about whether I should do it or not, and I think you should err on the side of doing it, because there's no harm, right? If you were trying to make that binary decision, whether I should do AI or not do AI. And not because our companies are in the AI business, it's because you are going to see that larger groups out there are going to adopt this quickly. And if you want to compete, right, the larger groups, Heartland, I was telling them, and one day they were not using computer vision. The next day they decided to use computer vision. All of a sudden it's 1,800 offices, in one shot, right? So my suggestion to all you independent practitioners out there or smaller groups out there, if you guys are behind this AI train, catch it quickly, because again, it doesn't cost you any more to catch it compared to the large guys. But the large guys are going to, because they're going to say, all right, well, we have these problems. I know AI can solve them, and they're going to figure it out how to implement it at scale. And then you guys are going to wonder, like, hey, what happened to my practice? And I think there is room for all practices out there, independent practices, DSOs, multi-location groups, whatever it is. But if you want to compete and outgrow and prosper in this world, I don't think there's a choice. We don't have a choice. And I mean that in the most optimistic kind of way.
And sincere, yeah.
AI is, it's like the internet, right? It is almost as big, or if not bigger, than the invention of the internet. And those who were waiting on the sidelines before, like, oh yeah, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, it is changing the way that we do business. It is changing the way that businesses practice, period. And so it's a matter of just don't delay the inevitable. It is here. It's not going anywhere.
Absolutely. And I love the Terminator analogy that you guys made. And all throughout this conversation, I hear efficiency. I hear getting rid of the minutia. I hear accuracy. And it's AI is not intended to replace humans. It's intended to replace the monotony, the minutia of every day, so you can become a better marketer, or you can become a better clinician, or a better, office manager. So again, we want to show you on the screen, each individual on the panel today is going to have their individual session. So please register for them. But right now, I'd love to open this up for the Q&A session of the webinar. So please go ahead and start typing in your questions if you have not done so already. But I do have a couple on here. Let's see. Well, speaking of Terminator, Adrian, how many jobs are at risk with AI?
So I read a study by Columbia University. So I'm basing this on this one study. I haven't backed this up with other research, any other research, but they did a study on the Industrial Revolution and the labor constriction in the Industrial Revolution. And during the Industrial Revolution, there was a labor constriction of about 15% of the labor market, right? New manufacturing processes and technologies that basically just made workers not needed, right, as much, right? You could get more done with less people. And the prediction for the AI, this whole AI movement is about a labor constriction of approximately 5%. So so there will be some jobs, there will be some labor constriction, right? But the important thing, and Mike kind of hinted towards this a little bit, the important thing to remember is that it's probably, I mean, there will be some jobs flat out that are replaced by AI. Okay. I mean, for example, if the phone tree thing is solved or calls at 9 o'clock at night is solved by an AI agent, you don't have to have a customer service agent answering the phone. Okay. So that's an example of somebody that might not be needed because AI can just simply replace the skill set, right? But most likely what's going to happen is that it's not going to be AI replacing a human. It's going to be a human leveraging AI, outperforming a competitor. That's what's going to happen. So a dental practice that is highly efficient, leveraging all these technologies, just simply is more profitable, can spend more in marketing, can hire better people, and that just ends up outperforming another dentist, right? So it's more of it's not necessarily a replacement, it's a race of efficiency. That's kind of the general I mean, that's not my thoughts. That's kind of what people are across the industry are saying, and they're recognizing that's probably what's going to happen. But I'm happy to hand that off to Mike and Amol for any other thoughts if I didn't cover it all.
Nope.
No, you're good. We have another question here. What about the older patients that are not up to snuff with the technology?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that one. I think with that point, some people saying, well, my older patients might get scared about this technology or whatever. Think about all of the technological advances. Think about the X-rays. Think about the CBCT machine, right? Like all of these advances in technology, when explained the right way, takes that fear out of any patient, regardless of age. And so I think for any patient, older, younger, whatever, by simply communicating correctly that in our practice, we utilize state-of-the-art FDA-cleared AI technology that's able to see, a lot more than the human eye and break all of these little pixels down, pixel by pixel to highlight areas that we might miss or that are hard to detect. Our goal is to catch these things earlier, and this technology allows us to do so. All that really needs to be said with that, right? We don't need to complicate it, but just breaking it down, helping them know that this AI is not a replacement for the clinician. It is as valuable or similar to having 1,000 dentists looking at this X-ray. So when people are like, well, can I get a second opinion? Yeah, you have one. In fact, you've got 1,000 of them.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to segue into this other question. This one's for you, Amol. You talked about insight and foresight to deliver value to dental practice. Can you speak a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So, we've been in dentistry for a long time, and we've always, one of the big buzzwords over the years has been key performance indicators, or KPIs, right? And we've invested in software solutions over the years that provide us an understanding of our reappointment percentage or our case acceptance rate. And what I call those things as those metrics, those KPIs, as hindsight. Okay, what happened, right? What AI allows us to do is to accelerate take that hindsight and convert that to insight. What does that mean? Insight means, why did it happen, right? Or what made it happen? What made it happen or not happen at the same time? So if like my earlier example, a patient called, wanted a full arch treatment, and somehow didn't schedule an appointment. Why didn't they schedule an appointment? Well, because they thought it was too expensive, right? That's the end. That's the insight. That insight is what we need from AI to give us, right? Because once we have the insight, then we know how to fix it. So why did certain things happen? So we have to equip our people, our society, to understand why things are happening the way they're happening, because now we're measuring data at scale and more accurately. Foresight really means how can we make something happen? What should we do more of? What should we do more or less? What should we do I guess less of, right? So that also tells us like, hey, maybe we should spend more money on marketing. Maybe we should add a new hygienist. Maybe we should add a doctor, change our shifts. So that's foresight. So it allows us, what AI does, at least at Patient Prism, is it provides these recommendations that doesn't require somebody with a PhD or a data science background to understand. We can just provide these insights like, hey, doc, you should do more of this. You should do more of that. And that really is the impact. Like, one of the things I talk about hindsight, insight, and foresight is we have information. We have to convert information into insight. And from that insight has to be then converted into decision. And then the decision has to be eventually converted into action. All of that has to happen very quickly. And if we can do that, right, we're gonna grow our practices very predictably. We're gonna understand why things are broken instead of having this system one thinking where my gut says this is the reason. But our gut's usually a wrong indicator unless we're fighting or there's a fight or flight response. So we have to understand why things are happening, because the moment anybody understands, except for like, stop eating, you're gaining a lot of weight. So that's the one thing we don't understand. Like I guess stop eating food, but we know that, right? The moment we present information to people, our clients, that, hey, this is what you need to do more of. Nobody denies that. That's the trust factor that Mike was talking about. AI is not an opinion, although they call it second opinion. It's really about math. It's about zeros and ones. It's about those things that AI is making judgments on based on just what they see. And it's really hard to argue with math. So that's what I mean by insight and foresight. It really is about understanding things that are not visible easily, and to be able to understand why things are happening, and then make a recommendation what we could do more or less of to make good outcomes to occur. And that's really the power.
Thank you, Amol. Mike, you answered the question that was on the chat, but do you want to just give a quick little 45 seconds of it before we go on to our closing slides here?
Yeah, the question was, does your X-ray AI technology give a chance for the clinician to read the X-ray before the AI jumps in, for him to decide for himself or herself, and then allowing the AI to kick in? So, yes, absolutely. With simply just a touch of the space bar, you can basically turn off the AI detections, turn it back on, toggle back and forth. And if there is something that you disagree with before showing it to the patient, you can always go in and edit, eliminate it, or even add something in there.
Wonderful.